सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Hariom everyone, with the weather situation the way it is, I hope everyone's doing okay, staying warm and safe, and really spending time with their families as well. Alright, let's start with the Mangala Charanam. Namah Shri Shankarananda Guru Padambujanmane Savila Samaha Moha Graha Grasaika Karmane. So again, hearkening back to the Mangala Charanam, we see sole function of this guru is to destroy ignorance. That's what this entire text is about. So every opportunity we get, it's about destroying that ignorance that makes me believe many misconceptions about myself and about the world. That's a theme we find constantly. So today, we start with this 30th shloka. The first line that I have here is not part of the shloka. It's the last line of the 29th shloka. But I wanted to include it because that is the theme that sets us up going forward today. Kurvate karma bhogaya karma kartum cha bhunjate. We act in order to enjoy and enjoy in order to act. It's an endless cycle. Now, this seems like a very simple sentence, and yeah, we know. We act to enjoy, enjoy to act. It goes so much deeper than that, however. Because if we look at the life cycle that we go through, the start of everything is desire. There are things that I want, therefore I am willing to do anything to get those things. That's the very first layer that we start from. And this is not something that is taught, yet it's a conditioning. In life, we use words like conditioning to mean that we do something repeatedly and therefore it's ingrained within us. In a Vedantic sense, however, conditionings are limiting adjuncts. Meaning, when I have this misconception that I'm a jiva, that I have this body, this mind, this intellect, that these vasanas are things I must act on, that my likes and dislikes determine my level of happiness. All of these misconceptions that abound, they are from this very conditioning that I am a jiva. It's natural to have if I inhabit a body. It's not like I can just wish them away and say, get rid of these conditionings. So it's only natural as a law, then, that kurvate karma bhogaya, I act in order to enjoy. Any action that I do is only with that enjoyment in mind. We've been looking at the Gita Panchamrit this year. Those 5 specially selected shlokas from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And if we look at it, we find Shankaracharya ji has the most famous commentary. On every word that he's written, we have what's called a tika, a sub-commentary by Anandagiri ji, another great acharya in the lineage. Anandagiri ji has one very interesting definition I'd like to share. He says, any action that we do is guided by one thing, durlobha, greed. Lobha, greed, dur, with the prefix there, means it's really bad. Durlobha, greed is what guides every one of my activities. Now, we have to stop and ask ourselves, do we believe this? If I were to tell you greed is what directs every one of your activities, there may be some pushback. Saying, no, I do things like seva. I help people. Even when it's snowing outside, when someone calls me up and says, "Hi, I need help with something, can you come over?" I make the effort to go there and help. Therefore, how can you say every action is greed motivated? It goes deeper. It's not simply about the intention or what it's done. It goes deeper in that every single time I make that resolve to act, I'm doing it from an egocentric position. Where even when I help someone, that feeling I get of satisfaction, that acceptance that I receive from others, this notion of, okay, I've done something useful, that itself is the reward for it. Even if I chase that, that is still greed. So are you saying don't do these actions? Then no, that's not what's being said at all. Simply understanding it's not that there are those egocentric actions that don't lead to enjoyment, and then there are those non-egocentric actions or things that do lead to happiness. No, it's all in the same bucket right here. So kurvate karma bhogaya, we act in order to enjoy. Karma kartum cha bhunjate, we enjoy in order to act. This is also there, the other side of the coin, where I enjoy an experience. Imagine if you had ice cream, okay? Whether it's some exotic flavor like Pantone or whether it's chocolate like me. I'm pretty mid. I'm a very base average person. You guys know this by now. Imagine you have some ice cream. What if you knew this was the last time you'd ever have ice cream? How much would you savor that? How bittersweet would that experience be? Wouldn't there be that twang of sadness every bite that you take and you swallow and there's no more left in the bowl? If you knew that was the last time you'd ever have ice cream in your life, I don't know what the emotions would be like at that moment. So, if I enjoy with this idea that I'll never enjoy this thing again, there isn't enjoyment there. It's anxiety, or it's already withdrawing from it or missing it. There's an uneasiness there. Here, though, the truth that's given is, I enjoy because part of that enjoyment is I get to do this again sometime. We even say that, don't we? We're with friends. We're sitting and eating. The meal hasn't even ended yet, and we say, yeah, we should do this again sometime, is what we say. Meaning it's already ingrained in our mind that we're conditioned to partake in this again because it gave me so much enjoyment this time. So we enjoy in order to act again. That's that cycle. Meaning in the life cycle of desire, there is never a time where I say to myself, okay, desire is there, I formulated an action from it, executed that action, and now I'm done with this whole cycle right here. Doesn't end there. It goes back to, I have to enjoy this thing again. Now, what is the result of this kind of thinking? If we look at this 30th shloka right here. Again, the last two lines are the ones that are part of the shloka. Nadyam kita iva vartat avartantaramashute vrajanto janmano janma labhante naiva nirvritim. Labhante naiva nivritim. This seems like an indictment that's made here. A natural conclusion. We never attain peace. Who never attains peace and why? Those jivas that keep moving from birth to birth. Vrajantaha janmanaha janma. Keep going from birth to birth. And what's the uddharana example that's given? Just like in the river Nadyam, kitaha, insects. Inavartat avartantaramashute. They move from whirlpool to whirlpool. Avartat is like a whirlpool. Because the example here is so poignant because we've heard the example of desire is like a river. It's never ending. Thoughts, vikalpas in this mind keep going, keep going. But what we actually find here is so beautiful in its explanation. It's not a river, it's a whirlpool. What's an actual whirlpool like? When I was in the Boy Scouts, we went on a canoe trip. All right, this was like the best 8 days of my life. It was me, my dad, my brother, and our entire troop, about 8 of us. The older kids, we drove from Texas to Montana. That's the only time anyone ever go to Montana, I guess. And for 8 days, we canoed from Montana into the boundary waters of Canada, went like 60 miles inland, and then came back out. So 8 days of just being on the canoe. And it's not like you have designated places where you have campsites you stay at. You just find an island somewhere. There's one guide that goes with you. You find an island at about 4 or 5 p.m. when you feel like you've done enough canoeing for the day. You pitch your tents there, sleep there, tie up the canoes, and the next morning you're out again. So I saw some amazing things, man. It was amazing. The first, most amazing, majestic thing was a bald eagle. As far as maybe 5 feet in front of me, I saw it. I was canoeing, and then it was eating like a rat or something. And it looked at me, those piercing blue eyes. Like, I had to look away for a second. It was just so piercing right at me. And we say it's so majestic. It's the national bird. When it opened its wings with its 7-foot wingspan and started flying like 5 feet in front of me, I've never seen an animal so majestic before. It was beautiful to witness. So like that, so many cool things I saw. Now, it wasn't always easy. There are times where naturally in the rivers and the lakes, there's a whirlpool that's created. Because the flow is coming hard from one direction. There may be some impediment or something, therefore it turns. Whatever the mechanism is, there's a whirlpool. No matter how much you and your partner try to canoe away from that, invariably you get sucked in. So you're canoeing, you see the whirlpool in front of you, and you say, okay, I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go hard left so that I don't have to get sucked into it. No matter how much you canoe that way, you're pulled in. And you go around. It turns your canoe around and around to the point of dizziness almost, and then you end up on some bank somewhere. Okay, round 2 then, you try again. Take your canoe back out. You start going. Again, you find yourself turned around again and again. It's the most annoying thing. And the irony is, the more you try to struggle to get out of it, you actually wear yourself out doing that. You're so fatigued, you can't even canoe normally after that. So the best thing to do is, once you get to the bank of that river, get out of the canoe. And what you do is, it's called portage, where you hold the canoe over your head pretty much, walk a little bit on the land, then put it back in the river somewhere else. We have to end up doing that a few times with the whirlpool. That is the best metaphor for not just the life that we live, but the lives that we have lived. Where this whirlpool of action, enjoyment to act, that whirlpool plagues me constantly. I keep going through that again and again and again. And the more I struggle in it, the more I suffer in it. What is the result of that suffering and struggle? This notion gets strengthened in my mind that, okay, this action did not work out. Let me go for this other action to get this other happiness. It'll surely work out this time. Then I find myself in that whirlpool. Then I tell myself again, okay, this didn't work out, but chasing this pleasure will give me happiness. It'll last even longer. And I find myself in that whirlpool again. Time after time. Lifetime after lifetime, I've harbored this feeling, and now I find myself where I am now. What's the residue from this whirlpool? My vasanas. The way my mindset is. What do I find myself attracted to? What do I find myself averse to? The proof is in the pudding right here of what is my current personality. Now, the highest level would say, let go of these desires, don't act for these purposes, stop looking for enjoyment in everything. Cool, that's the highest standpoint. From our standpoint, though, as Yuva Kendra members, you are at an age where no one can ever blame you for having hopes, dreams, and desires. If not now, when else will you have certain desires and the need to go far and do things that seem out of reach but do it anyway because it makes us happy. This is the age to do these things. No 60-year-old sits there and says, okay, I'm going to plan a spontaneous trip. So it doesn't work that way. It's at your age is the prime time to do all this. And yet here we are saying, don't worry about desires and action, all of this. At our level right here, the important thing is to do this exercise constantly of the next 5 years, what do I want from it? What desires do I have for the next 5 years? Why the next 5 years? It takes into account the fact that we're not just short-term desirers, where I'm not just talking about what do you want for lunch or what is it a few months from now you want. No, next 5 years, what are those top priorities of things that you want? Once you've honestly made that list for yourself, next part of the exercise is, how do each of these elements help me grow? Growth, then. It's incremental. What does growth mean to each of us? For some, growth is purely materialistic. That, I was a renter for so long after graduating college. Now I have enough to put a down payment for a house. That's my goal in these next 5 years. Interest rates are they're okay right now as well. Therefore, I have my own place. That is growth. That is growth, no doubt. Being a homeowner for the first time is growth. Or, right now I'm dating someone. Next 5 years, not just marriage, but I like to have a kid as well. That is growth. In numbers, literally, growth. But then understanding what is that growth that I am facilitating that is different from every other kind of growth. Expanding a family, your own home, promotion at work. These are all growth patterns that do help, that do make life more comfortable, that take on more responsibility, that add to the world around me, no doubt. For my own spiritual well-being, my own adhyatmika, that kind of growth, are there desires to help facilitate that? I'll phrase that again. Are any of these desires related to my adhyatmic growth? The reason I ask that question is, anytime I want a result for growth, there's a clear desire for it, and I act upon it, either putting financial situation in order, either proposing to my partner. Whatever it is, there is some action that is taken to facilitate that growth. Here we say as chicks, we want to grow spiritually. What are those desires leading to action to facilitate that spiritual growth? Because it does not just happen. It's not that I go through every other area of life and here, attending satsang, then this change will happen. The change does not happen. I get frustrated and I say, Vedanta did not work for me. Where was my deliberation in this whole thing? Where did I pause and say, okay, for my spiritual growth, X, Y, Z has to be done. This desire I have to grow in this way spiritually, let me facilitate and make that happen. Have we ever made it that clear for ourselves? So what does spiritual growth actually look like? Has my patience increased? My connection with Bhagavan, the level of reliance I have on Bhagavan, that worship that I have where it's matured from simply, Bhagavan, give me this, give me that, more to loving Bhagavan fully? Has that grown? Is there a desire to make that grow? These are the markers for spiritual growth. Is there a deeper understanding of Shastra? One level is whatever is in self-unfoldment, for instance. I can intelligibly think through those concepts. Next level is application. The next time I get into an argument with someone close to me, do I understand, just as I am growing as a jiva, they are also growing with their own vasanas. Let me be compassionate towards that and not have a crash out and blow up about certain things. Just as I'm growing, the people around me are growing. Does the application come in the form of, okay, I've been working so hard at work, promotions are coming, everything is there, but at the same time, let me pause and step back to find that balance between friends and sadhana and work and family. Am I able to step back and take that pause and take stock of things and say, okay, work is a priority, but I have to handle everything else simultaneously as well? Because that's one common complaint I get from parents of Yuva Kendra members. First, it's like, oh, they're not taking their studies seriously. Then it becomes, oh, they did take it seriously, they got a good job, and now they're working all the time, they don't have time for us. There's a complaint at every stage. That's one that's often there. That tunnel vision sets in. So spirituality has to be applied in these areas. That's one other level. Next level beyond this. So first is basic conceptual knowledge, then application of that knowledge. The next level that's even deeper than that is those questions that I don't have even in my own mind. By studying, those questions come to mind. Are those being answered as well? That's what a deeper study does. Now, as Yuva Kendra members at this age, 25 to 30, the fact that you are this engaged in your own spiritual journey is something that is commendable and at the same time very rare to find. Not saying this to, puff you up here, just being honest, it is commendable and very rare to find. Given that that's the situation, what am I doing to capitalize and make even more of this now? Fully capitalizing on this opportunity means, can I engage in more serious study? Because out of any religion in the world, Sanatana Dharma requires the highest intellectual investment and requires the most diligent practice as well. I don't say this lightly, and this is not defaming any other religion. When I say the most intellectual investment, there is constant questioning. There is never a time in a spiritual journey where you can, lean back and say, okay, I've studied everything to be studied. All my doubts are resolved. I can go forward. There will be dips in faith. There will be moments with lack of clarity. Application of this knowledge may be there to an extent before there is some kind of disillusion. This stuff can happen. What am I doing to rectify that is a deeper study where I resolve these things for myself through the guidance of the Guru. And when I say Guru, I'm pointing at all the books I have with me by Puja Gurudev. That's the guidance of the Guru. Using that, leveraging that to go deeper. Deliberate practice. Sadhana is not a once a week thing. It has to be very regular. Just as I shower twice a day, cleaning this outer layer of the body, this mind also needs that same cleansing. More than the body even. Because the mental baggage that we carry with us from step to step, every single day, month, year, decade, that can be crushing at a certain point. Resolving things, whether it's guilt, anxiety, animosity, lack of forgiveness for someone else, whatever it is, if these things aren't resolved, those are impediments to my spiritual journey. Because again, Sanatana Dharma is not a religion that says you just have to take the higher as the supreme, surrender to God, and that is it. You are absolved of all sins. That is it. You are perfection. You will be salvaged. That's not what our religion says. The intellectual investment, the deliberate practice, is at a much higher level then. We have to be practitioners of this. Now, how does this connect to the shloka that we're talking about right here? Where it's tempting to think that because I'm stuck in this whirlpool, And this whirlpool is not just birth to birth, it's moment to moment as well. Where how many times have I told myself, as long as I get through this next year unscathed and I do well, great things will await me later on. And they do, but they come with their own baggage and their own requirements. So then I tell myself again, as long as this next 1 year I do well, things will be fine later. Before I know it, it's been a decade. Whether it was the days that I'm studying in college, whether it's grad school, whether it's first few years of marriage, whatever it is, I keep telling myself, get through this moment right here, things will be better. It's not that they don't get better, but anytime they do, there are other things added, of course. That's also the whirlpool. Expectation never meets reality. And things are always greener on the other side. What someone else is experiencing, I think, oh man, they're living it. And then I'm surprised to find they have their own issues and problems as well. It's but natural. So here, some can call it pessimism. Labhante naiva nivritim. They never attain peace because we go from birth to birth. Now, what's the follow-up to that? Shloka number 31. Satkarma paripakate karuna nidhino dhritaha prapyati rataruchayam vishramyanti yatha sukham. This is where the guru comes in. Just like this insect is in this whirlpool going around and around, the compassionate man that sees this happening walks up to that river, leans in with his hands, tries to pick up some water with that insect in it and take it out. And then what does the insect do? It may be like not a scorpion, but one of those insects that stings. It stings the hand of this man doing it. So he, let's go. But then he tries again. Stings him again. He does it even about 5 or 6 or 8 times, finally getting that insect and throwing it onto the land. And it's safely on the land and it lives happily. That sting is also part of being a guru then. It's not an easy life. You read the life of our great Mahatmas, we see that very clearly. Where oftentimes those same people that come with problems and are totally despondent and broken, that guru that builds those people up and helps them, either they forget about that guru, or when things get good, they even bite the same hand that feeds. That's like the insect stinging. Or the student, when being disciplined. Instead of taking discipline as something positive for their own growth, they take discipline as, this guru personally has it out for me. Or my teacher's doing it just to keep poking at me and he's never satisfied with where I am, with what growth. These thoughts can come in. That's the stinging that takes place. That's why the karuna, compassion of the guru is, any of us that act, we act with the purpose of expectation, getting a certain result. The guru is the one figure. The reason they have compassion is there is no expectation like this. I was mentioning this to a group the other day. Pujya Gurudev started the Sandipani Sadhanalaya ashram in the 1960s. And even today, after so many years, the Brahmachari training course is free for Indian students. Room and board, food, books, so many books, man. Healthcare, for 2 years, no less. All of this is completely free. With no stipulation that you even have to join Chinmaya Mission afterwards as a brahmachari. You can work in any capacity within the mission. You don't even have to work for the mission. You can come into the course saying, I will learn this knowledge here. I will not stay in the mission. I will go right after. Everything is still free for you. Even during Pujya Gurudev's time, people came up to him and they said, this is a terrible ROI. Here we are investing so much into these students, most of which don't even stay, maybe. They may go. Can we put some kind of stipulation that at least 5 years you have to serve the mission? Like contractually obligated, like the Navy or something like that. Gurudev simply laughed and said, what are you talking about? How can you put a price on this knowledge right here? If anyone learns this knowledge and does anything with it that makes me happy, I'm not tethered to the fact that they have to be with this organization or that organization. He even went as far to say, if someone is a graduate of this institution, the only expectation I have of them is, if they see me walking on the road someday, give me a smile and a wave is all I expect of them. When we say compassion of the Guru, this is what's meant by that. No expectations for anything. We do something small for someone, we expect so much from it. If I were to find a wallet on the ground, I pick it up, driver's license has the address and everything, so I come to your house and I give it to you. The least you can do is reach into that wallet and take out a 20 or a 50 and give it to me, right? That's the least you can do. I expect that much at least. And that's for something so small. This is a guru that is giving the highest knowledge. That which not only makes someone's day or helps them a little bit, puts an end to lifetimes upon lifetimes of being in this whirlpool, yet they expect nothing. There is no other endeavor where we find this kind of compassion. That's only in our Guru Shishya Parampara. Because of the value we have for this kind of knowledge. That if I have this knowledge, it's a gift, should be shared with others. That was what Puja Gurudev's view was when he learned this knowledge at the feet of Tapovanji Maharaj. And at that moment he says, the people have to know this. And his guru said, why? They don't care about it, first of all. If they want it, they'd come here. Just revel in this knowledge here. Why do you want to go out and do all this? He says, no, I have to. And Guru says, okay, so be it. Go ahead. And one small satsang in a Ganesha temple in Pune with 4 people in the audience. And 75 years later, here we are now. More than 320 countries, 320 centers in over 30 countries. It's incredible. One person's compassion can make all of this happen then. And especially for us as diasporic Hindus, born and raised in the United States, if not in the English language, there's no other way we can in depth understand what this knowledge has to say. And this is a guru that was very much criticized for teaching in English, yet he went with it and did it. So compassion, this is what that means. So it was given in the previous shloka that what? There is no rest for this person. Janma vrajanto janmano janma labhante naiva nirvritim. They never attain peace. Here it said they do find that peace. Vishram yanti yatha sukham. The happiness that comes from peace is there because of the compassion of this guru. In what ways? How do we define peace for ourselves? I keep using the phrase define for ourselves very purposefully because reading it from a book and saying, this is what desire is, this is what peace is, great. What does it mean for me? Going from that stage of study to application, stage 1 to stage 2, that requires me to put it in my own words to understand for myself what this means. So what is peace? For many people, peace is externally based. Why? They define peace as, I'm left alone. No one's bugging me, no one's bothering me. It's an externally based definition, then it's dependent on how others are with me. Our Vedantic idea, though, is not externally based. Peace has to be something inwards and within. Or else, if it's externally based, then unless I run somewhere where I'm the only one there, I cannot find peace then, technically. That can't work. So what is peace? When this mind is calm and balanced. Okay, good starting point. Aren't there times for me to have the best output possible? More than a calm and balanced mind, I need a mind that's kind of under the gun, under fire, don't I? That mind seems to perform better at times than just a peaceful mind. It's held accountable. It's forced to be innovative. That's also there. So this peace is not situational peace either. So it's not externally based. It's not situational for a moment or for a specific purpose. This is a general peace that we're talking about. A constant, consistent calm that despite any other situation arising, and even when the mind has to jump into action or faces some kind of agitation, what is my baseline is what this peace is. When this mind is at rest, where does it go? Now, am I Gen Z as well, just like you guys? No, I'm millennial. Okay, thanks. You guys could have said yes and made me feel good, but even at 7 in the morning, you won't do that for me. Thank you. Okay, so I am the previous generation from you guys, so I can say this even more forcefully. Your generation, you guys, Gen Z. The mind at rest is always boredom, isn't it? When there's no other external stimuli, when there's no companion to speak with, and you're by yourself with your own thoughts, boredom seems to be the default status of where this mind goes. That is one sadhana. Can that be changed? That's the most immediate sadhana then. Where am I able to think of something, dwell on something, be at peace and be happy with myself and content, not saying that boredom is what's there so I need some stimulation. Or else, unless this mind is occupied with something, I can never find myself with that peace and calm. Do we see how dangerous that can be going forward? There was a time in the world without all devices, without, access to information at my fingertips in real time, where I would have to be by myself or just in quiet moments where thinking would happen, reflection would happen. Even if not on deepest things, at least that break for the mind was good for mental health. That's the biggest crisis we face right now is so much constant stimulation of the mind. When that stimulation is not there, I feel like a fish out of water. And then we want to talk about, sadhana, and I want to learn this, and I want to focus on that. How is that going to happen? First thing is, when the mind is not occupied, can I still be alert, vigilant, and happy? That's the very first step. Or else, this sukham that we talk about, vishram, relaxation, peace, there is no scope for that unless first I can tackle the issue of I am bored when this mind is at rest. So where should the mind go when it's at rest? Can it simply focus on any thought that I want it to focus on? Not thoughts of anxiety, not reeling out, thinking of things that can cause some issues for me. Can it do something productive even in those moments? And yes, bringing the mind to rest, single-pointed focus on simply breathing, that is productive. That helps with my focus. That helps to clear this mind. That's also necessary. So just like the first sadhana is looking at what is my set of desires for the next 5 years and going into that and seeing what is it for spiritual growth. Second sadhana from this shloka here is when my mind is at rest, where does it go? Understanding that. A lot of us don't even know where the mind goes when it's at rest because it never goes to rest. When you lay down for bed in the evening, okay, whatever time it is, you put your head on the pillow, you close your eyes. And you may be doom scrolling because you can't sleep. But is there a moment where the mind goes to rest and you're just there awake with the mind? Or is it just from doom scrolling to sleep then? Studies have shown, like brain scans and things that they do, when there is not that interim of wakeful rest where this mind is not occupied, when that time gets smaller and smaller, you find that you wake up feeling like you didn't sleep at all even. And when that's repeated, day after day, month after month, year after year for decades, the damage done to the brain is substantial. And that opens it up for things like dementia, Alzheimer's, things like this later on. Our generation then, going forward, when we're 60, 70, the kinds of issues that await us at that point as an entire generation, it's going to be pretty scary stuff. Because of our dependence like this, because of the effect it has on the mind right there. So, what does it mean for this mind to rest in peace? That's something to consider very carefully. Now, this next shloka, the final one for today, shloka number 32. Upadesham avapyaivam acharya tattvadarshinaha panchakosha vivekena labhante nirvritim param. So once these instructions have been given from that guru, what this knowledge is, there's a level of discrimination that must take place. Vivekena, that's third case right here, by this discretion, by this understanding of what's real and unreal, then nirvritim param, there is that liberation. So this is the part I was talking about where intellectual investment has to be made, here and now. When it comes to our daily living with work or with school, we intellectually push ourselves. All-nighters spent studying to memorize and regurgitate. Problems that must be solved in a team setting or for a client or some kind of... We intellectually push ourselves, and we're capable of great, brilliant things. The brilliance and the intellectual fervor needed to assimilate this knowledge of myself, I wouldn't say it's at a much higher level, but it's at a different level. What do I mean by that? Largely in an academic setting, especially in our generation, it's largely based on memorization and regurgitation. That's all it is. Application of knowledge is something sorely missing in our education system today. Wasn't always like that, even in this country. It's where we find ourselves now. So I talk to so many people in grad school, whether it's law school, med school, where what they tell me is it's a lot of memorization, regurgitation, very little application that's actually there. Unless you do rounds or rotations and things like this. Now, because of that, education for us and thinking has taken on this tenor of it's about owning up information simply so that you can have an output of that same information. Spiritual knowledge is different in that there is an owning up of information. We've gone through so many technical phrases during our study of Pancadashi. We've gone through different thinking frameworks. All of that's there. The output of that, though, is not simply spitting the information back out. There has to be this buffer of thinking through of what does this knowledge actually mean for me? Which knowledge is right for me at what time? Am I qualified to really own up what this knowledge is? Where if I don't have a calm mind, if my level of focus is diminished, my priorities are totally focused on materialistic things, what is there to gain from spiritual knowledge for me? It may be intellectually stimulating, given the high-sounding philosophy that this is. It may even linger in my mind after Shravanam, after Satsanga, just because it's something I can dwell on because it's interesting to me. But translating it in my own words for my own life and what this means, that will be abjectly missing from my life. Because I cannot compute this knowledge that has certain priorities associated with it. I cannot reconcile that with the materialistic pursuits that I have invading my mind at all times. What will this knowledge do for me then? So unlike any other kind of knowledge system where the focus is to own it up and then output, the pre-layer to all of this, the qualifying is, can I bring my mind to be prioritized with what Vedanta's priorities are? Where it's not more stuff or more people around me or a higher status. These are all things that make me happy in the world, and that's why I'm in the whirlpool that I'm in right now. What is the realignment I'm willing to make to own up this Vedantic mindset even before I embark on this serious study? Which is why in an introductory text like Viveka Chudamani, 581 shlokas on this deepest knowledge, literally about Viveka, this discrimination of the self from the not self. The first 100 or so shlokas don't even focus on this knowledge. They focus on the qualifications needed to approach this knowledge. Capacity of discrimination, dispassion from objects, calmness of body, calmness of mind, withdrawing from all these pursuits that I have and saying, no, let me be at rest to study, actually. Forbearance of opposites in the world. Trust in Shastra and the Guru. Burning desire for liberation. Single-pointed focus. All of these things are qualifiers to actually get the fruit of this kind of knowledge. And priorities of this knowledge as well. Learning this knowledge can make someone very wealthy. You can package this into books and seminars and podcasts and workshops and everything. If you get a nice looking face and a good sounding voice, man, you can make heaps of money talking about this stuff. What are my priorities for this knowledge? Because if that's the point of it, bhuktaye natu muktaye, I'll enjoy myself, but mukti, liberation, no chance of it. So what is the seriousness I have for learning this knowledge? And once I understand that seriousness, that will dictate how much of it takes up how much of my life. I can't tell you how many people I speak to in the mission who are in their 60s and 70s that at this age, they then devote a large amount of their day into the spiritual study. Invariably, so many of them say, man, I wish I started sooner. All those years I pursued other things seem like a waste now. I could have made so much more progress. That's why I stress this more to Yuva Kendra members. This message of take this seriously now and up that intellectual pursuit of this knowledge, I don't say that to adults mostly. I say it to chicks more because you're in that position where you can take advantage of it right now. Now, what does that actually look like then? Going back to the whirlpool. How many of the pursuits that you engage in do you find to be mind-numbing, obligatory, no growth for you? This can be social situations. This can be, I know at your age, flying to a different wedding every 2 months or so and going somewhere and spending at that flight and clothing and this and the self. There's a lot like that. It gets completely mind-numbing after a while. You don't find the joy in doing all that anymore. Give yourself this opportunity at least of more satsanga, of a reading habit every single day, of writing down 5 questions a day that you can dwell on. And if those questions don't come to you as answers in reflection, reaching out to a Swami and Brahmacharan, asking them there. Some self-study as well. And not self-study of Mandukya Karika or Ashtavakra Gita, not some high text like that. Let's start smaller. Something with a commentary by Puja Gurudev or Puja Guruji or Swami Swarupananji. Something I can tangibly go section by section. Without this deliberate study, there is no growth then. And once a week satsang, twice a week satsang is great. That's good. But what is my result of that? Am I thinking about this outside of satsang hours? Is it that I'm actively coming up with questions for myself? Is it that I can gauge my growth and say, okay, I need to apply X, Y, Z in my life. This is how I'm going to do it. This is my path forward. And the third part of this is understanding the Hindu ethos in and through all of this. Where let's not universalize this knowledge saying it's everywhere. This knowledge is unique to Sanatana Dharma. There's a cultural context to be followed with it as well. Meaning, when the recommendation is made, do a certain ritual every day. 10 minutes of this kind of puja, just 5-step offering in this way. There's this attitude of, no, I'm Hindu in my own way. As long as I'm a good person is what matters. These rituals, things don't matter. No, if it's given as a recommendation, it damn well matters. So making that effort holistically, not just that, okay, I enjoy questioning, I enjoy reading, I'm going to go that route only. Where's the practitioner element in all of this? So something regularly chanted on a daily basis, making this. Because last year what we tried as Chick West was the sadhana challenge. Every month a different sadhana. And to our dismay, we saw that it fizzled out fairly quickly every single month. Because sadhana is foreign to our way of thinking. Even if you're married to someone named sadhana, the actual practice and all of this may be foreign to our way of thinking. Because who wants to control this mind? Let's be honest. Who wants to control the mind? I want my mind to go in the directions it wants to go in, fulfill the desires it craves, enjoy those so I can fulfill more desires so I can enjoy more. That's a happy mind in my mind. Who wants to control this thing? That's where the practitioner's viewpoint comes in. That is what it's all about. So in these 3 shlokas, what did we see? First, we took a look at what is this process that we find ourselves of acting, enjoying, puts us in that whirlpool. From there, the Guru digs us out of there. Anugraha, grace of that Guru is there. Third, then, discriminating and going through various processes through this knowledge. The third one, Shastra, we have. The second one of the Guru, Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananji, man, we have. That first one, then, that desire to get out of this cycle, that is completely on you and me. It's very much in our own hands. What decision do we make there? Lifestyle changes is where it comes down to. So with that, thank you for your time. Please, please, please stay safe in the weather. Don't go on the roads if you don't have to. And we will meet again next week. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Hari everybody.